Okay, so this is John Roberts again. I just wanted to take you through some of the stuff we covered last time with the importance of having a healthy curve in your neck. When we look through an x-ray of your neck, we should have a nice C-shaped curve. Now, as a chiropractor, the main reason that we're actually concerned about the alignment of your spine is because of what it actually protects. So if we get a little bit more gruesome and kind of just dig into what actually happens here, this is where the head starts to drift forward, if you remember, that forward head posture. Now, where the neck has a nice C-shaped curve higher up still, we can still see that the gaps in between the vertebrae are still nice and healthy. There's no kind of jagged bone spurs, all right, exactly like you can see back on this image. But when we look down at the lower section of the neck, where the curve has got totally flat, now you can see that the gaps in between the vertebrae, the spinal bones, are really starting to wear. The bones are starting to get quite jagged, and what's happening there is those discs haven't just disappeared, they have to go somewhere. So when we take the same neck and actually cut it open, what we can see is they bulge right back, right in this circled area, they bulge right back into the spinal cord and into the spinal nerves. Now on the diagram you can see on the right hand side, this is one of the parts of the nervous system that is least understood by people. Okay, everybody knows that a pinched nerve will give things like sciatica or arm pain or headaches and kind of backaches and stuff like that. But one of the most important factors with your nervous system is the fact that it controls and regulates almost every function in your body. Okay, and it does so by sending impulses or messages, in effect, through the spinal cord and then out through the nerves. When we look at what's happening in this neck, where the discs start to break down and the spine gets arthritic, those discs start to bulge right back into the spinal cord and right into those spinal nerves. And we can see that the nerves in this kind of in this neck area go through and control not just all the muscles and the tissues down the arm and give you feeling from the arm. So when you touch something hot, your brain registers that you need to move your hand. But it also affects things like our breathing, things like our heart rate, and things like our blood pressure and stuff as well. So when we look at the postural assessment that we want to check with any person that has any kind of neck challenges, the main thing that we want to look for is if there's any forward kind of movement of the head away from the vertical, because that's what's going to suggest to us that there's starting to lose the curve in the neck. Now, there's ways of testing and assessing how much of an effect the spinal alignment is having on the health of the nerves. And one of the things that we use with that is technology that was actually developed by the American Space Foundation and used by NASA. It's used with a lot of top-level athletes on a consistent basis to make sure that they function at their peak. In other words, to make sure they're as healthy and performing as well as they can do. Now, when we look at this thermal scan, it's an infrared measurement of temperature either side of the vertebrae, and what it's looking for is any areas of heat or asymmetry, all right, so imbalance in there, and that's characteristic of when nerves are under pressure and it's affecting the control of blood flow. So this is just a simple painless scan, as you can see on the right, where the scan is rolled up your spine from the base right to the top bone called the atlas or C1, and it gives us a reading of every single level of the spine to identify any areas of nerve pressure, inflammation and irritation where those nerves aren't able to carry a normal message. The second thing that happens, and something you're probably acutely aware of, is when nerves get put under pressure or get irritated or damaged, then it creates muscle spasms. The muscles are no different to anything else in your body. They're controlled directly by the nerves. And when the nerve starts to get interrupted or damaged or interfered with, then the first thing that it does is creates muscle weakness, but also muscle spasm, okay? And an EMG scan is just, again, another simple painless scan that involves moving these gentle pads down the spine, and what it does is it measures areas of muscle spasms that shouldn't be there. It indicates any areas of nerve pressure, which again, the muscles are there to protect and stabilize the spine, but also to move it as well. So we want to identify any areas where this nervous system is getting damaged and put ourselves in a position to get that corrected, to get you nice and healthy again, and make sure that your body is working the way it's designed to. So when we move over and we look at your nervous system as a whole, one of the key things this autonomic nervous system does, as you can see by the information in front of you, is to be able to shift your organ systems into like a red alert or a survival type state, which is commonly called a fight or flight response. It's when our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up, our brain's revved up, our pupils dilate, our digestion shuts down. Everybody's experienced this when you get very, very stressed, or when you get very nervous or apprehensive. Your stomach tightens. That's your digestive tract kind of getting the blood draining away from it, shifting all your blood flow into the big muscles in the arms and legs so that you can fight or run. Okay, and that's why it's called that fight or flight response. People have very little difficulty getting into this state, but one of the problems that we have because of lifestyle type problems, and because in our neck is where the bulk of our what are called rest and digest or parasympathetic nerves come from, when we start damaging those and we start limiting how well those nerves are able to actually work, then what happens is we can't come out of that state. And this is when people typically have the common problems like not being able to sleep, or having a full night's sleep but waking up feeling like you've just closed your eyes, having things like blood pressure drifting high, having things like decreased sex drive, having things like digestive disorders and things like that. So this is something that needs to be measured. Your heart rate variability, or your ability to move between these two different states according to what you're doing at the time, is a key part of keeping you healthy short term and long term, and it's something that'll dictate your quality of life. Okay, it'll even affect things like your mood. So it really is something that needs to be checked as early as possible, and actually periodically through the course of a person's life. So heart rate variability has a huge amount of research behind it now, showing the importance and the necessity to keep a nervous system balanced between these two states. And if that's something that you want to get checked, then I just want to make it as easy as possible for you to start assessing your problems properly, rather than just patching up or numbing symptoms with it, so that we can actually get you back enjoying a quality of life that you should actually be enjoying. Okay, so if you want to click on the link below, you can we're just going to make it very easy for you to get this stuff checked at very little cost, and as I say, to just get started on addressing the problems properly. So keep an eye out for another email tomorrow, but also have a click on the link underneath and you can go back and you can see exactly what a full assessment of your nervous system will entail, and we're going to give a really kind of good offer which allows you to take advantage of that stuff and take some action.